As a beginner, what materials do you need to get started with acrylic paints? I recently made the decision to start painting in acrylics and I had to answer that question. What materials do I need? In this video, I'm going to open this box of new painting supplies. I'm also going to review the materials that I already have in my store cupboard.
Let's get this open. I'm going to start by looking at the paints.
I'm using acrylic paints for the painting exercises in Drawing and Painting the Landscape by Phillip Tyler.
This is the list of paints Phillip Tyler suggests for starting oil painting. I'm using it as the basis of my acrylic palette. I've got mixing white, titanium white, lemon yellow, ultramarine, cerulean blue, permanent alizarin crimson. Since I am trying to detoxify, it makes sense to avoid the heavy metal pigments, particularly the cadmiums and also the cobalts. Most people seem to agree these paints have very little risk to the artist unless you are spraying them in an airbrush or eating them. The real issue is polluting the environment when you tip wastewater away or dispose of solid waste. Winsor and Newton have cadmium-free versions of the cadmium paints in their artists' oils and professional watercolour ranges, but not in their professional acrylic range. They have the formulation ready to go, but they are unsure whether there is a market for it. Since they don't have the cadmium-free options, I've chosen Naphthol Red Light and Bismuth Yellow as alternatives. The red is probably a good choice, but Bismuth Yellow is a mistake. It is too similar to lemon yellow. In this video and article, Chris Beaven recommends Hansa Yellow Medium as an alternative for cadmium yellow. I skipped cobalt blue because my experience with watercolour is that it is quite similar to ultramarine in hue, but it is really good for glazing. So in the near future, I may be looking for a cobalt blue substitute, both in acrylic and watercolour. I bought a few extra colours that aren't on Philip's list because I use them a lot in watercolour. Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Burnt Sienna, Yellow Ochre, and Phthalo Green Yellow Shade. What else have I bought? I bought some acrylic mediums. Flow Improver. By mistake I ordered 2 lots of glazing medium and slow drying medium. I may not need all of these, but I can use these as a start to find out what mediums are most helpful for me. I'm going to paint my initial acrylic paintings in the Stillman & Byrne Beta Sketchbook. Paper is a much cheaper alternative than canvas or panel for practicing. I usually use the Alpha series sketchbooks, but the Beta series is a heavier weight paper. Beta has a cold pressed, slightly textured surface. I bought the Silver Brush Bristleton Synthetic Brush Series 1902 Bright size 6 because Carol Marine lists it in her favourite brushes in daily painting. I bought the Jackson's own brand equivalent because they offered it at a discount when I ordered the Silver Brush. It will be interesting to compare the two. I also bought the Winsor Newton Monarch brush because Carol has a photo of one in her collection. I bought the Masters Brush Cleaner and Preserver Soap because a lot of people recommend it and the hype suggests it can even remove dried on acrylic paint.
These are the materials that I've bought, but I've already got some existing kit. I did a bit of painting with acrylics back in 2010 and I bought some stuff back then, but I think this is the only painting that I ever completed. Also, some of the lessons in expressive drawing and some of the earlier exercises in in drawing and painting the landscape used acrylic paint, so I bought some materials for those exercises.
I've got lots of tubes of paints of varying quality. They all seem to be okay even after all of this time. I've got some gesso, some texture paste and some matte medium. I've got some brushes of varying types and quality. The System 3 one should be pretty useful to get an impression of what type of brush I prefer. A fine mist sprayer. Do you need all this stuff to get started? Definitely not. You probably only need 3 colours, a blue, a red and a yellow, a few brushes and some paper. And some old clothes. But I'm pretty sure I will use everything I've bought.
If you are interested in cadmium-free acrylics, please let Winsor Newton know so they know there's a demand. I've left a link to their website in the description. Their support staff are always really helpful. And if I can do anything to make this channel more helpful, please leave me a comment.